Welcome to all of you joining us on www.ThePapare.com. We're coming to you live from Racecourse, where Havelock Sports Club is taking on Navy Sports Club in the second semi-final of this Clifford Cup. And the winner will join Candy Sports Club, who booked their place, defeating CRNFC, running in 56 points to 16 points yesterday in Nittavella. Joining with us is Paul Toya. Paul, welcome.
Good afternoon, viewers, and good afternoon, Sarashna. Welcome, viewers, to the racecourse ground, the International Racecourse Ground. I can tell you the pictures here aren't telling a lie. It is absolutely spectacular here. The sun's shining, the ground is in perfect condition, and it's a perfect setup for rugby, isn't it? It's perfect conditions for running rugby, and I'd expect an open running game today.
Of course, but the only thing that could go a little better is the sun moving a little away, because it's quite hot in the middle. It's quite hot and humid, but these two teams, that will not be a problem. They will look to book their place in the final. Paul, let's talk about how important it is. They came so close to winning the league. They could have done that if they did win against Candy at home. They missed out on that. On the other side, Navy was in the title race up until that Candy game, but they've stumbled since. They lost to Havlocks, they've lost to Army Sports Club, so they will be playing for a lot of pride here. So how important will it be for both the teams?
Well, it's difficult for just to know what that loss to Candy would have done to Havlocks Sports Club, because they were right in the match, right in the season until that point. Unfortunately, they were beaten by a very good Candy side that day. Then they went and played Navy the next week at Navy's home ground, and they played against the Navy team with 14 men for most of the second half. They managed to come away with the win, and I think that's because Navy actually threw away the win. For my money, it looked like that Havlocks Sports Club didn't actually go and grab the win. The victory was given to them by really some weird decisions by Navy, and just some really bizarre sort of play. What I've liked about Navy this year is their offensive defence. Really, they get up off the line really hard. Their set piece has been relatively good. They've got speed on the outside as well. So they brought that in spades when they played last time, but just mentally they couldn't manage the game, and it just went away from them. So we'll see what they bring to this game today after they've had that disappointment, because mentally I would imagine it would have scarred them. You know, they would have been a lot of players looking at themselves thinking, what should I have done differently? How can I bring a different version of that game to this game this week?
Absolutely. When you say their offensive defense, they did it on point, playing against Candy in Valley. We saw that in the first round, and also in the game against Army, they were very strong in their defense. But talking about Havlocks, they don't have their star man, Dulaj Pereira. He's not going to be in the team, so that's going to be something that'll be at the back of the minds of the Navy players as well. They will know that the danger man Dulaj, who was the informed kicker, is not there for Havelock, so will they take any liberties out of it, Paul?
Well, he wasn't there for the last game either, and they didn't manage to win that game, but it's definitely a disadvantage for Havelock Sports Club not to have him in the field, in the team, because he's such he brings such a calmness to their back line. So he plays on the wing, but he brings a calmness and it's sort of like a knowing. He's like a knowing sage that understands what's happening in the game. And when he says, "Okay, I'm going to have a shot at goal," you know, there's a good chance he's going to get the ball over, because his accuracy this year has been exceptional, and he came away with the Golden Boot as the top point scorer of the season.
And also talking about Navy, they will have a huge mental barrier. Remember, they've lost both their games to Havlocks in the league. So they will have that mental barrier of not being able to beat Havlocks. Havlocks, on the other hand, they will be quite happy that they got over Navy in the last game. But coming into the semi-finals, Havlocks didn't have a very good outing against Police Sports Club. Police did push them in the first half, but the Havlocks quality carried them through in the second half. They're not going to be able to do the same thing with Navy, because when it comes to the quality and the bench, Navy also can compete.
Yeah, that's right. Look, Navy do bring a lot of guns, if you'd allow the expression. They bring a lot to the table here. So I'd imagine that both teams will go at it for over the full 80 minutes. There won't be an easing off at all. It'll be interesting to see if there's a card or anything like that, because in the last game there was a red card for one of the Havlocks players. And at some point, I'd imagine there might be either a yellow card or a red card might come out, and that'll affect the game adversely for whatever team loses that player. But Havlocks, what they have is they can have confidence, because as badly as they played last time when they were up at Willisera, they still came away with the win. Whereas Navy, I feel they've got to come with something extra, because they believe that they're owed a victory here. Like the last game, they did enough to win that game, but they did enough to win and also lose the game. They found a new way to lose. That's new for Navy, because they've been winning so consistently this year. They've only lost, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 games all season. Sorry, 5. So the statistics man says it's 5. So, you know, they've had a pretty good season. Really, it was right up until they travelled up into the hill country. It's where they lost their way. Until then, they were right on track. So I'd expect them to get some of that. Excuse me. I'd expect them to get some of that back, because after last week's game, they should have some belief.
Absolutely, Navy would have spent a little time regrouping themselves and restructuring their plans and thinking what went wrong. Good signs for Navy. We see Lee Kegel in the middle of your screen, so he will be pairing out with Lahiruera. That has been a devastating centre partnership for Navy, so that's a good sign for Navy. We hope that they will be the starting lineup. And also, news today is the referee who officiated yesterday, Julian Castande from the Frenchman, will be the man in charge today. Yesterday we clearly saw that he was very on point, and he was very critical of the scrums. He wanted them to be pinpoint perfect, and a lot of penalties were given away around the scrum. So these two teams, I'm sure, would have done their homework yesterday looking at the game. They will be determined to make sure that they don't make the same mistakes, and it will be they will be able to carry through and adapt to the referee as soon as possible.
Look, I've had a bug to bear about the scrums as well. I believe that the flankers don't bind on tight enough, and all eight players don't push at the same time like they should. So let's hope that referee is going to bring something other than players just trying to break off like that. What I see at the moment in Sri Lankan rugby is that the flankers try to leave the scrum too early. The number 8 hardly even binds, and if he's defending, he just sort of puts his hands on the two locks, has his head half in, and is almost half out of the scrum as well. If you speak to an Argentinian about scrum time, they'll believe that's the most important thing in the rugby game, and then the second most important thing is scrummaging. So they place a lot of importance on it, and so the importance comes from controlling the ball when you put the scrum in, and you can push your side up, whatever side you want to promote, so it makes it easy for you to attack. But also it means that you're going to give disruptive ball to the opposition when they have the ball. Where this becomes a real advantage is if you have a defensive team like Navy, where they push really hard. So what that advancing defensive line does to an attacking team is that there's lots of knock-ons, there's lots of breakdowns, and so then what comes after that? It's scrum time. If you dominate the scrum as well, you know, you're going to have a long afternoon. If you've got an advancing line coming at you, the pressure's on you, you drop the ball, you go into a scrum, the pressure's on you again. You know, there's nowhere to hide, and there's no rest at all as well. So hopefully that's an area that they're going to tighten up in this game. It's scrum time.
It's going to be crucial how the Tide 5 plays for both the teams today, and as we know, there is depth of experience when it comes to both teams. They will be looking to gear up and put a notch up in their performances, and to set up a potential final against Kandy Sports Club come Sunday 26th, and it will be played in Nittawala, Kandy's fortress. So it's not going to be an easy task for either of these teams, because none of them have managed to win against Kandy in Nittawala.
Well, look, none of it's an easy task. They've got 3 games in 8 days. That's difficult in itself. Going to Kandy, you can have 2 weeks rest before you go up there, and it's still going to be difficult. So 3 games, 8 days, last game in Kandy against a team that you haven't beaten, and I don't know if anyone's beaten in the last couple of years up there. That's a tall order. But first and foremost, you've got to do what you've got to do today, and that's get over the opponent. So whether it's going to be Navy or Havlocks, we're going to have to wait and see, because they've got to concentrate on what they're doing at the present time. So now, as we see Navy are going in and Havlocks have already gone into the sheds, now what they need to concentrate on is wishing each other luck, wishing each other good fortune and wishing each other a good game, and making sure that they give confidence and there's a team feeling between each other when you're in that changing room. So you're saying to each other, as you're in the changing room, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to perform for you, and I have faith that you're going to go out there and you're going to perform for me. So when I take the ball into contact, you're going to come in behind me and you're going to clean out. And whenever I'm standing next to you, I'm going to get up and I'm going to make tackles, and you can depend on me. That's what they're going to be saying to each other. And so that's what they need to concentrate on now, because now's the time when they give each other confidence. Now's the time when they talk about the last minute things, the last minute, work-ons, the cues, this is what we're going to do at the kickoff, the last going over the game plan. These are the things that go through the players' minds. Not much else is going on, really. Old school used to have a coach, the coach would come in and he'd have the last word and then the captain would say something. Now we know that really the intensity comes from all the training that you do during the week. So it's important that intensity comes on Monday and Tuesday and continues all week. And then the players have to own the intensity now, because it's too late for the coach to give some sort of emotional message.
Here we go. This is our first look at the Havlocks lineup, which will take on Navy in the semi-final. Ashad Darling, Prasad Madhushankar and Dushmant Priyatalash, unchanged first row. Janik Jayasuriya, Umesh Madhushan comes in. No Sharu Fernando there. And Sinal Silva, Setum Piris and Sudarshan Mututantri making the third row. Sudam Turiarachi and Niroshan Fernando will be the halfback pairing with Chamar Dabare and Vimukti Rahula playing as the wingers. Hiranta Pereira, Nishon Pereira, they are center pairing, and Kevin Dixon, the last line of defense for Havlocks. So interesting, no Sharu Fernando in the starting lineup. It's his birthday, we know, and he recently became a new daddy as well. So maybe he's taking some time off from the game. Let's take a look at the Navy SC team. Kasun De Silva, Dulantana, Vijay Singh, Roshan Ranasinghe, Satyaranatunga, Adisha Veeratunga, Nirosh Pereira, Danushka Pereira and Nivanka Prasad, very experienced front rows, plenty of Sri Lanka players there, and Rishi Dharmapal, Chanaka Chandimal have been regular starters for Navy Sports Club. Supun Dilshan and Tanuja Madhuranga, the two youngsters, will be the speedsters and the wing three-quarters for Navy. Lee Kegel and Lahiru Herat have been very good. Kegel making a return to the starting lineup, and Tilina Veerasinghe, the second highest point scorer of the league, will be the last line of defense. Let's take a look at the replacement for both teams. For Havlocks, we have Liston Udaras Anjana, Liston Flatney, Lasidukan Natalika, Ganidu Lakshan, Shehan Dias, Chanaka Bandara, Rahul De Silva, and Chamika Samaratunga. And for Navy, we have Stefan Gregory, the big prop forward, Charit Silva, Nisal Deshita, Lahiru Vesujit, Gayan Vikramratna, Harsha Madhuranga, Kosala Tisera and Dinusha Fernando, Dinusha Para Fernando. So plenty of experience in both benches as well. Interesting, Paul, Rahul De Silva drops the bench from the previous game. How do you think that plays up with Sudam Suriyarachi starting out the game for Havlocks?
I think it's the right decision, and he's a canny coach, is Ronnie, so I think he's gone the right way. I think Rahul comes on. He can read the game. He's a great student of rugby, so he can watch the game from the sideline, see what needs to be done, see where the holes in the defence are, and see what he can bring on in the second in the second stanza whenever he comes on, maybe around the 60th minute. And for Navy, I see that they've got Stefan Gregory. Now, last time he started the match against Havlocks Sports Club. This time they're going to bring him off the bench. I think it's a better fit bringing him off the bench, because he's a monster, and getting him around the paddock. He started really well in the game in Willisra, but he sort of dropped away and he fell away in the second half of the first half, and he was also almost non-existent in the second half. So I think maybe they'll bring him on when the other players are a bit tired, when Havelock Sports Club are a little bit tired, and then he can make most impact there.
Absolutely. Stefan Gregory, 120 kilos, and he's a fast runner as well. So it's much better for you to bring him on in the last 20 or 30 minutes of the game when the other team is tired. There you go, both teams huddling up, Navy, taking a moment to look up at the heavens and receive their blessings before the game. And Havlocks with a quick huddle. Havlocks definitely will solidly miss Shara Fernando because he's a fierce tackler and he's a very physical player. And when it comes to physicality, Navy is very physical as well. So they would have done well with Shara in the team.
He does bring an edge, that's for sure. He's a very aggressive player and he brings an edge to the team, and they will miss him for sure. Maybe, I'm not sure why he's not playing. He must have an injury. It won't be because it's his birthday or he's had a child. You know, normally once you've had a child, you get some superhuman effort going on, and all of a sudden you only need 2 hours sleep a night, and nothing seems impossible. So I'm sure he'd be playing this game if he was here, if he was fit and able. But just while I've got an opportunity, I'd like to extend our condolences from ThePapare to Dan Vickerman's family. He passed away this week, unfortunately, in Sydney. He played 89 tests for Australia. He was also, like Shara Fernando, an uncompromising player. He leaves a wife and 2 children, 2 young boys in Sydney. Also, in the last few weeks, Sione Lauaki has passed away from kidney complications. He was an ex-All Black, played 17 tests for the All Blacks. That was a very sad occasion, and any All Black that passes as part of the rugby family, and it's a very sad occasion for New Zealanders. And South Africa lost one of their greats, probably one of the greatest halfbacks ever to play our game, and that's Jos van der Westhuizen, a World Cup winner in '95. He's the man who, many images show him tackling Jonah Lomu, the great Jonah Lomu. He passed away this month as well, so it's been difficult for the rugby fraternity and the rugby family. We've lost 3 of our staunchest soldiers, so our condolences to all 3 families.
3 soldiers have gone to the heavens to join the game. They play there, so that will be interesting. Our condolences to all of them, and joining with us is Shanak Amarasinghe. Shanak, Thriller, it will be a hard call here. They be taking on Havlocks. Who will be your bet?
Well, we've had 3 games or 2 games already between the 2 teams. Both of them have turned out to be really good games, exciting games that have gone down to the last 10 minutes, so I don't see that changing too much, but Navy may just be third time lucky.
Shanak, you're looking very fit and well. Have you got a new girlfriend? What's happening? Maybe just a new haircut?
I don't know what it is, Paul, but I do have a lot of phlegm in the chest, so that might be something that helps show the countenance off this way.
So as we speak, the players have lined up for the official introduction in this second semi-final. Candy yesterday booked their place in the final, beating CRNFC 56 points to 16. Up until the latter part of the game, CR were just 9 points with 3 penalties. But Omaka Gunaratne, who I thought was absolutely brilliant throughout the game, he had such an undaunting spirit throughout the game. Even though Candy was scoring try after try, he tried hard. But unfortunately for him, he was in the wrong side of the scale.
He's such a strong young man, isn't he? And he don't, mentally and emotionally, he doesn't take a backward step either. So he'll always give his all, and you'll see him. He might look a little bit frustrated with the way things are going, but he'll always just want to go one way, and that's forward.
And also, something, Shanak, that was very impressive about CR was they were down and out come half time, 27 points to 9. 41st minute, 1 minute into the second half, starting the Ratwat, they get a straight red card for a tackle on Roshan Weeraratne. But after that, CR did show some courage playing with 14 men.
Well, I think that did lift them. And it was their best player. He was coming back after an injury, and it was something that obviously would hurt them a lot. But I think that's what CR need to bring to the table even before the red cards happen or that emotional catalyst happens. I think they need to show the kind of desire that they showed after the red card, before the red card, and throughout the course of the season. If they had showed that kind of spirit, I think the game would have been... the season would have gone on much better. So as the French referee puts his arm up to Julian Estarte, sounds a bit Spanish, doesn't it? puts his hand up and says, let's go. And here's the first charge up the middle from the Navy. Tidy collection there, and Richie Dharmapala sends it back to Chanaka Chandimal to put it in just behind the retreating Chamara Dabare, who thinks he'll have a run, and he makes a great break. Chamara Dabare is beaten 2 tackles, needs to get it away, and does. Dushmanta Priyadarshana taking it up to halfway. Sudham Suryarachi starting today. Rahul De Silva dropped to the bench against a smart Navy team that will take some sniping around the fringes. Here's Nishant Pereira, quick hands eluding Havlocks there, and unfortunately the touchline intervening for what seemed like a promising attack.
It did look promising. A nice little read there from the winger on the outside from Navy, though. He came smartly as it got near the edge, and just as the ball came, he really put pressure on the winger and forced them out. It was unfortunate. That kick from Chandimal was an excellent kick. The chase just left a little hole in the middle, and Havlocks came back strongly.
So first line out of the game now. Dulanchana Vijayasinghe to throw in, playing with a scrum cap today, which is something we don't usually see him do. Couple of Wesleyites on the park today. Situm Piris, Dulanchana Vijayasinghe himself, Rahul De Silva on the bench there. Satyaranatunga adds his bulk to that ruck to make the ball available, and they do. Here's a good fend from Lahiru Herat, and that ball finds its way into the hands of Dabare. He's already seen it twice, which is probably more times than he's seen it in full games previously. Suryarachi clears. Here's the big man, Dushmanta Priyadarshana, or Ashan Darling rather, coming in at an angle. Taken forward by Prasad Madhushankar. Senal Dilaka gives it to Dushmanta Priyadarshana. Havlocks going all the way back into the pocket. It's not a great tactic, and Niroshan Fernando has only one option, and looks like he might have taken a bit of a bang in the straight leg, his standing leg. We'll go back and have a look at that a little later, but again, that was a bit reminiscent of Sia, Paul, doing all the good work, then going back into the pocket and kicking it away for nothing.
Yeah, that's right. After all the hard work from the forwards, you saw over on the other side, there was the other side from where we're looking, viewer, and from where you're looking. Havelock's forward pack really put a lot of pressure on the ruck, and they forced an extra couple of players to come into the ruck from Navy, and that meant their attack was all going wrong. So it's well done by the forwards from Havelock.
Situm Piris tries to win that ball, but well stolen by Navy. But somehow Sudham Suryarachi manages to get the ball back onto his side. And a good bust up again from Sudarshan Muthatantri. Richie Dharmapala with a long ball out to Tilina Veerasinghe now. Veerasinghe looks to his left and ups with the boot. It's a long kick, but Kevin Dixon has enough time to go back and put in the clearance and put his team on side as well. And offside, says the referee, so the Havlocks not retiring after Kevin Dixon made the kick. Yes. And he didn't put them on side fast enough.
Yeah, that's right. He was the player was still inside the 10 as the referee just indicated that. You can see so the 10 isn't it's not a radius around the player with the ball. It's actually from sideline to sideline. So he was still inside that 10 metre band, and that's why the penalties come there. But I actually thought that Navy let Havlocks off there on the other side because there was a 3-on-1, maybe a 4-on-1, and directly in front of them. I thought if he just ran and passed, they might have gotten further into that into the Havlocks ground.
As a coach, been here for a while, Paul, you would have noticed that running straight and passing is not something that's natural to Sri Lankan rugby players.
Well, it doesn't come natural to anyone, really. Generally, you want to try and run away from people, but in rugby, what you need to do is you need to run towards the player who's defending. And as we see the ball come off the post, it was an excellent kick, but just not quite good enough.
So it's still going now. Here's that was Umesh Madhushan, actually, the former Royal lock forward, who took the ball up. And here's Hiranta Pereira. Puts his head down into the tackle of Chanaka Chandimal. Sudarshan Muthutanthri sees the blind side. Muthutanthri dragged down. Sudam Suryarachi just couldn't get to him in time and should have done so. But the referee says there was a knock forward there, and it'll be interesting to see whose scrum it is. It'll probably be Havelock's scrum. So Muthutanthri spotting the gap there. Paul just failing to get away.
Yeah, it's well done there, and that's something that coaches try and teach as well. Actually, to plan for what's in front of you. There, generally, what you do is because you're all on the ruck's really close to the sideline. Generally, you'd pass the ball out to the other side into the open. But there, he looked up. He saw that there was no one really down that side. It was half a defender. He managed to almost get away. They made another 10 metres. The Navy player couldn't quite get back and scoop the ball up as he was coming back in onside.
Big open side for this scrum, almost on the sideline here as Muthutanthri controls it at the back. Suryarachi to Fernando. Fernando to Hiranta Pereira now. Nishant Pereira coming in on the angle, but Kevin Dixon joining the line nicely. Here's some space now for the Havlocks winger. Vimukti Rahula, that is the Josephian on the far side of the field. On the pavilion side, he's dragged into touch.
Expansive ball movement there. An excellent running onto the ball from the fullback, Kevin Dixon. A nice pass. He just didn't quite put it in front of his player, but the winger probably should have held his run a little bit more, and he would have been able to run onto that a little bit quicker. And then they just ran out of space there, really. So either he needs to come back in, because going out is like a cardinal rule for wingers. Just gives the ball to the opposition, so it's just a straight turnover.
Durandra Vijay Singh with a nice throw. Taken beautifully at the back there by... looks like it's Danushka Pereira there, is it? Yes. With the headband. Dulanjana Vijayasinghe comes away but knocks the ball on, but the referee says play on. He says it was lost in the tackle, so nobody's fault. Roshan Ranasinghe clears it quickly. Nice hands. That's a beautiful break from Lahiru Herat. Well done from him, and Sudarshan Muthutanthri almost gets him, but not enough. And the pass is just behind the support player. That looked very much like it was Supun Dilshan who was supporting there. The pass was just behind him. But what a run there by Lahiru Kumara. Completely destroyed that Havelock's defence.
Yeah, I actually think it was the quick hands that got him the ball. It might have been Chandramal that got him the ball there, and they just put him into a gap because Havelocks were coming hard on the number 10. He just went straight through, but you saw how he just ran straight and ran towards the defenders. And when you do that, you challenge the defender, and you ask him the question: "Are you going to come and tackle me? Or are you going to take the person on the outside?" And when you run at him, it means that he's got less time to think about it, and it really puts the defender under a lot of pressure.
Another scrum for Havlocks. They'll need to clear their lines this time, but they can't kick it out from here. Dabure being asked to operate in the 5-meter space just before the touchline. Danushka Pereira gets him down and tries to effect the turnover, but here's Janik Jayasuriya this time running straight into the bulk of Satya Ranatunga. That's taken back. Sony Roshan Fernando needs to put this high, which he does, into the arms of Thilina Veerasinghe, who drops it backwards. And that's a kick put in, a smart kick if it goes to hand. But Supun Dilshan again dragged into touch. That was... that could have been brilliant. It could have been an absolute nightmare, Paul, that little chip.
That kick there takes years off the lives of coaches. All you're looking at is you see the advancing Havelocks player, you'll see one Navy player going for the ball, and the shape of the rugby ball dictates that no one knows where the ball's going to go. If that had bounced towards the Havelocks player, he had one man to beat and he was away and he would have scored a try. So maybe a pass might have been an idea. Like there were two players in between them, maybe just quick hands. That does the job just as well.
Good win in the lineup there from Situm Piris. No Garindu Lakshan today for the Heavies. And they go short side again, and Sudam Suryarachi puts this just behind Richie Dharmapala. And Thirina Veerasinghe is forced to kick under good chasing pressure. And it's a big one as well, straight into the opposition 22. Kevin Dixon has gone back. And will take no chances, settle it down and put it into touch.
Yeah, that was a good, nice, educated kick there from the Navy player. They made a lot of ground, and they sort of won that kicking battle. I'm surprised that Kevin Dixon, with the amount of support he had there was only 3 Navy players advancing. I thought they might have attacked those 3 players. He had 2 players in support as well, so it would have been a 3-on-3. I'd always back my outside backs to take a 3-on-3 and make some ground. So maybe he was a bit tired from running back and collecting the ball.
One is thrown right to the back where Danushka Pereira takes it and has a go. Lovely offload from the flow onto Satya Ranatunga. Richie Chandimal. This is Lee Keegle now. Keegle also playing with the headband today. Richie Dharmapala urging his forwards to come in closer to the fringe. Nice bust up there from Navy. And the penalty is coming. The referee says not releasing the tackler. Not releasing the tackle player, rather. And Dulanjana Vijayasinghe has it just under the sticks inside the 22. And surely Navy will think of the points here.
Yeah, look, they took the option of having a shot at goal when it was an extra 20 metres away from the post. I'm sure they're going to do the same again. And as you see, their kickers come up. It actually looked like the player there, the original penalty, the Havlocks player it looked like he might have shown daylight, but not enough daylight for the referee, and I think that's what the discussion is that you see on screen there. I think that's what the discussion's all about there.
Yes, it's so important how the foreign referees come in and dictate how fast the game is played, Paul, because I think sometimes the local referees can be a little lenient on the tackler as to how quickly they're supposed to release. So that does slow the game down. It does tend to make players a little sluggish as well. So when a foreign referee comes in, they kind of impose those rules, and the people who adapt the best will probably end up winning the game.
Yeah, so viewers, if you're wondering, there's no domestic laws and foreign laws. They're all the same. It's all comes from the same law book. It's just the interpretation of it. In the law book, as we see the conversion successful, the wobbly old kick there, it looked like a wounded duck as it was flying through the posts. But the law book says that the player must release the player immediately. So that means you've got to get your hands away straight away. But you'll see the player who has the ball, the tackled player, they hold on to the ball as long as they want. And for them, the interpretation is they can hold on as long as an opposition player doesn't come to take the ball away.
It's all about the contest for possession. That's what rugby is all about. As long as there's a fair contest, referees will allow most things to go. As Niroshan Fernando restarts, and Navy will have to consolidate on this 3-point lead that they've built up after about 14 minutes of play. Chanaka Chandimal puts it high up and under, testing Kevin Dixon, who takes it well. And here's quick hands now from Sudarshan Mututantri. Well read there in the end by Supun Dilshan, who came off his wing. But the referee said that Dilshan was offside when in fact, it's a knock forward. So referee says that the Havies player played it in front from that knock forward. So a good defensive effort from Supun Dilshan again there.
Yeah, that's right. There's another great read. So there was a player on the outside him. He knew that the ball was coming to that the outside player there, so he had to come in and make a spot tackle, and he did it in such a way that he put pressure on the Havlocks play, knocked it on, and it just fell in front of Murutantri, and there's no real option there but to collect it.
Why would Kevin Dixon do that, throw that ball back in? Well, you can see why, because Sudarshan Mututantri has come away with it. I thought it went forward, but referee allows it to go on. Madhushan to his second row partner, Janik Jayasuriya, who rumbles this up to halfway. Now there's a bit of depth to the Havies attack. Niroshan Fernando puts his boot to it, and Hiranta Pereira will chase. Going down was Malimbada. Navy managed to hold on to that ball. The counter up puts some pressure on the receivers. Here's Lee Keegle now. Kegel gets away from a couple, and that's a good pass out to Malim Bada. Yes, Anushka Pereira. Supun Dilshan goes on the outside, goes straight round the man, and Supun Dilshan has a couple to beat now, and Kevin Dixon is well positioned, calls for the mark. And Dilshan again should probably have just kept the ball in hand. Danushka Pereira slapping him on the back and saying he should have hung on to that, mate. And now Kevin Dixon catches the Navy defense unawares, runs it up to halfway, and coughs the ball up. So now Navy have it again. This is helter-skelter stuff from both teams, end to end. Chamara Dabare now. Tirina Veerasinghe finally gets his man inside the 22. Such strength from Dabare to stay on his feet. And now picking up is Hiranta Pereira. The referee says it's all okay. And Pereira now with a broken field. And Sudham Suryarachi with him. Suryarachi steps in, beats one, doesn't beat the tackle of Nivanka Prasad, who came in and blindsided Sudham Suryarachi, and has a good pass in from Niroshan Fernando. Hiranta Pereira, and running the try in eventually is Sudham Suryarachi. That was a comedy of errors and some patches of wonderful passing, Paul. It was a brilliant try. It's one of those Charles Dickensian tries, isn't it? It was the best of tries and it was the worst of tries.
That is the longest phase of play that ends in a try that you're ever likely to see where the Barbarians are not involved. It was such barbarian champagne rugby. They're throwing it from one side to the other. It changed hands 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and it finally came back. And then Havelock Sports Club ended up scoring under the post. But remember, it started from the Navy winger. Was it Supun
Dilshan?
Supun Dilshan going around the outside, putting that little kick in. Actually should have kept the ball in hand. Kevin Dixon took the kick, took the fair catch, then tapped and went. He ended up losing the ball. Navy turned it over. It looked like they were coming all the way back. They put a little kick in. Then Havlocks had the ball again. Then they attacked. They lost the ball again. Navy came back. And it ended up with Havlocks scoring under the post. And I can understand why Navy are a little bit dumbfounded after that, because that ball went here and there, and they spoke to the referee after that try and said, so we're not going to play any knock-ons, or, you know, the ball looked like it had gone forward a couple of times, but the referee decided to let the game continue to flow, and if it's going to continue like this, someone needs to send us some water, because we'll be out of breath in no time.
Well, as long as the referee is consistent, I think that's all we can really ask for. He's clearly come out here wanting this game not to stop too many times. But there were a couple of dodgy instances in that build-up play. Tirina Veerasinghe with the high ball, trying to exploit the sun in the eyes of the Havlocks in this first half. Senal Dilaka was the man who carried that up. And Niroshan Fernando knows it's carried back and thumps it. Not a very good kick. Thulanjana Vijayasinghe is back. And the tackle is not a good one. It looked very much like it was a shoulder charge. And the Havlocks player has gone down in what is evidence of that. Here's Suryarachi to Niroshan again. Niroshan seems to be favoring this little chip. And Supun Dilshan opts to run. Takes it up to halfway, and the referee seems to have blown his whistle for what looks like a head injury. And Paul, like Thulanjana Vijayasinghe, if we can go back to that replay where the tackle occurred, not sure we can, but he went in with no arms, and Thulanjana Vijayasinghe pretty much tripped over in what was a classic block tackle. And this is what can happen. This is why the laws of rugby look so unfavorably on block tackles. And you can injure yourself as well as the player you're attempting to tackle.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we may see it here. Comes back to comes back for the kick.
It's already happened, actually. We need to go to the phase before that, actually, from the restart, where Thulanjana Vijayasinghe caught the ball.
So just needed to play out there a little bit longer, but you know, there's Thulanjana out there just making sure that that player's all right, and I'm surprised if he's not going to the sideline to have a little check-up an HIA, just to see if he's going to be all right. And here we see, is there any arms? Oh, there looked like might have been one arm, but there looks very tired.
Well, if he led with the shoulder, that wouldn't have happened to him, kids. So Vimukti Rahula will learn a lesson there. His head was well below his hips, Paul, and I don't know whether there was any genuine attempt to wrap his arms there. So
what coaches are trying to do, get young boys and young players to do now is actually get a lead foot in. So you're going to use your right shoulder. He would put his right foot down, and that's called the power foot, and that gets as close to the tackle. The player you're trying to tackle, get that foot as close in as possible, and then it's much easier to make the tackle. The tackle's much more dominant. If you have a look at that replay, if you can get an opportunity to go through YouTube or some other platform and you have another look at that tackle, you'll see that both of his feet are planted. He didn't get one power foot forward, and that's probably why he came off second best.
Danushka Pereira in the thick of that one there. Richie Dharmapala. Here's Chanaka Chandimal, takes it to the line nicely. Keeps the Havlocks defense guessing. Scooping it back, but the referee says there was a couple of knock-ons in there, so he'll come back for the knock forward.
So we've got Hedarth and Kegel in the centres there for Navy with the strapping around their head. So when I was a young man, we had strapping. The forwards used to wear strapping because they'd be in a scrum. So viewers, I'm not sure why backs would have strapping around their head. If anyone's asking, then we don't know either.
Well, we had Buck Shelford, isn't it, who always played with a headband. I think it may be covering up some cuts that they may be carrying on their foreheads or faces. Tirila Veerasinghe, his sidestep is slow and straight into Roshan Fernando. Sathiranatunga expects it but doesn't get it, and now Prasad Madhushankar. Madhushankar has got a great pass on him and he gives it to Chamara Dabare. Dabare with the chip kick. Has Jabare got the pace to get there? Dabare, and it's knocked forward. So Chamara Dabare almost getting in there.
Referee pulled it up pretty quickly as a knock forward. And that'll be a knock forward by the Havlocks player. So Dabare just knocked it on as he was going for the ball. It was a great kick and a great chase. It's probably maybe, if he just controlled it as the ball was going down onto the ground, he might have been able to effect a try there. So it was a knock on inside the in-goal area. So it's a 5 metre scrum, and it's 5 metre scrum to Navy. So this is a perfect opportunity to have a look at, for Navy to have a look at the defensive setup of Havlocks. Obviously, lots of coaches like to see players kick the ball out from here. But generally speaking, you've got the fullback drops back, 2 wingers drop back deep. So there's only 3 defending backs pushed up. So I always see this as an opportunity, and so do Navy, so that's why they're running.
And they run well. That's Lahiru Kumara who takes it up. And they had some space if they could have cleared the ball quickly. And now Chanaka Chandimal will kick into the waiting arms of Kevin Dixon, who lets it bounce. And now Dixon will run straight through the middle of the 2 waiting Navy tacklers, but can't evade the third. Surya Rachi. Dushmanta Priyadarshan as well. Here's Surya Rachi again to Chanik Jayasuriya. Jayasuriya shows and goes. Straight over the top, says the referee, for the arriving Navy players. Number 4, Sathiranatunga, is the man who is guilty there. And chance now for Hiranta Pereira, perhaps, in the absence of Dulaj Pereira, to get 3 points for the Havlocks, who will feel that they've deserved it in the last few moments.
Yeah, they have been playing quite good rugby. I just saw in that last little passage, the number 6, the flanker for Navy, Danushka Pereira, he took a little knock to the head as he came in to make the tackle. It looked like one of the Havlocks players. He just copped an elbow in the head and he looked like he was a little bit tired as he fell to the ground. Didn't get up as quickly as normal, so they'll need to keep an eye on that, make sure he's not concussed.
Pereira now with a chance to put Havlocks 5 points clear or 7 points clear. Strikes it well enough, and the toss judges look at each other and nod, raise their flags, and Havlocks have the 3 that they deserved in that last few moments. Chamara Dabare is knocked forward behind the try line, not proving too costly. And it's good to see Dabare being involved, isn't it, Paul? He's been fairly silent on the wing for Havlocks throughout the course of the season, but he's touched the ball quite a few times already in this game, and that's a good sign for the Heavies.
Yeah, that's right. He's a talented man. He's a talented rugby player, and the more often he gets the ball in hand, the better Havelock Sports Club are. So he's having a great game at the moment, and he'll hope that continues.
Ball comes out untidily on the Navy side, and Chanaka Chandimal will give it to Lahiru Kumara, who's been very impressive for Navy in this season. Chandimal floats it over the top to Malimbada. Malimbada running in on the inside. He's got one man to beat. Should have looked for the support. Kegel was screaming on his right shoulder. There were a couple of punches thrown in there, that was for certain, as Zulanjana Vijayasinghe is dragged down. And the referee blows that up pretty quickly. Sudham Suryarachi gets a bit of a telling off, and we'll see exactly what happened there. There were a few punches thrown right in front of the linesman. Lee Kegel definitely threw a couple of them. Then there was Shiranta Pereira, who came in with another couple of his own. Maybe Sudham Suryarachi as well. So we'll have to go back and see what the referee says about what happened here. If you can see that on the replay, we might be able to slow that down and show you exactly what went on in that little bout.
Yeah, it's already gone on there, and you can
just a little bit before this one, actually,
on the edge of the screen there. And I think Lee Kegel was a little bit upset that he didn't receive the ball. He was in a hole. He probably would have gone through, and he got to that ruck. The only thing that might be saving him was if it actually shows that he was attacking the ball, like trying to punch the ball away. But it looked like he was actually just trying to clip the guy across the ear.
Yeah, it would be nice if you could go back to just about 10 seconds before that last replay and show you exactly what happened. I think they're calling number 12. In fact, yes, they are. Lee Kegel is coming on over.
But that's a classic case of draw and pass. But also, it's not just the player with the ball that has responsibility there. It's the man who can see the hole and he can see that he's free. And if he knows that if he gets the ball, he's going to score a try, the onus is on him to tell the player with the ball, give me the ball so I can go and score the try. You know, don't put all the onus on the player that has the ball. He's got pressure on him enough. He knows that he's got to run forward. He's got to draw and pass, but he also knows he can't see what the other player's seeing. So, I think it's the rugby wasn't of a high enough standard from both the player who had the ball and the player who was trying to receive the ball as well.
Well, the referee has had a talking to Lee Kegel and told him that he's giving him only a penalty. I think he's probably a little fortunate, Kegel, there.
Yeah, I think if they had a TMO and they had another look at that, they might have seen a couple of swinging arms. But we probably would have seen two players go, one from each side there. But that shows that there's a little bit of feeling. The emotions are starting to run there. We're 30 minutes into the game, so the last 10 minutes of the half. Fitness starts becoming an issue here for the last 10 minutes as we see the Havlocks hooker strolling back towards the line out, taking his time, gathering his resources and his energy.
Madhushan winning this at the front. Barely went the 5 meters there. They're aware of the threat that Vagisha Vijayasekara poses at the back of that scrum. Adisha Veeratungarada. Sudham Suryarachi to Sudarshan Mudutantri. The knock forward is coming again. A no arms tackle, but referee letting it go. Here's Lahiru Kumara. Shows inside, keeps going. Good decision from him to hold it on there. Yes, Lee Keagle leaves the ball behind. And it's been a frustrating few minutes for Lee Keagle. But Lahiru Kumara did well there. Probably once he decided to go around the man, he had to hang on to it.
Yeah, well, I saw him looking outside, and I think he was looking for a runner to come on the inside. He was drawing all the defences wide because he was running on that wide arc. If he either needed to straighten up, draw a defender in towards him, and then put a player in on the outside, or else drift across a bit further and ask for a player to come back on the inside. There was an opportunity there for Navy, and that's an opportunity missed. It's a second time in the last 5 minutes that they've missed an opportunity to score a try. They can't afford to do that. They haven't beaten Havelock Sports Club all year. If they want to beat them today, they've got to make sure that they execute their opportunities where they have a chance to score a try. Otherwise, they're going to be very disappointed in the game. There's still 8 minutes left in the first half, as we see a couple of players go down. This is a part of the game that I'm not that happy about in Sri Lanka. As we get closer and closer to the end of the first half or into the second half, you see players going down and everything slows down a little bit. I'd like to see the referee just say, if you want to rest, you can go off. Go to the side of the paddock and go and get some attention over there. And then after we've had another phase, then you can come back on. But if you're going to start playing this game where you lie down and have a rest and give everyone a rest, then we're going to have to put you over onto the side. But they don't do that here.
It is pretty hot though, Paul. Hotter than Otago.
There's not many places colder than Otago.
Yeah, that's true.
It is hot, but look, players train for this weather. They train in this weather. There's a whole pre-season getting you prepared for this. And having the game go fast and continuing to play gives the advantage to players and teams that do all that hard work.
Subun Dilshan feels that nicely on the far side touchline. Decides to hang on to it. Sudham Suryarachi made a nuisance of himself, but perhaps not legally. The referee's got his arm out for an advantage to Navy. There's no one outside the ruck on the open side for Navy, and they had to go short side now. And the penalty is coming.
Well, the reason why there wasn't anyone there is because the Navy team look like they're all walking around in quicksand. Or they've got cement boots on or something, but there's no urgency. You can see it in the breakdown. Havelock is just coming through and really threatening and challenging at every single breakdown. You don't see any Navy player with any urgency at the moment. If they're going to do something about this and do something about this game, someone's got to, excuse the expression, pull their finger out and start doing something about it. And maybe lead from the front, or else a few harsh words. I'm sure a few harsh words will come at half-time because the Navy team is looking so lethargic. If they continue on this road, they'll be asleep halfway through the second half.
Yes, it looks like the heat really has caught up with both teams. It is quite humid today as well. And as Paul said, the last few minutes before halftime, it's the time of the game where the All Blacks usually dominate other teams, and this is why, because their conditioning is so good. And this is where it starts to tell. Knock forward, says the referee, and Sudham Suryarachi uses the box kick. It's not a great kick, and Subun Dilshan this time dribbles it once before hanging on to it. And he wins the penalty for his team. And the referee has had enough, especially with Sudham Suryarachi. It's Vimukti Rahul actually, who's gone in and not released a tackled player. The referee's given about 3 penalties on the trot for that ball, and I think the yellow card is well deserved at that point.
Yeah, that's right. It sets the precedent. It means that every time from now on, the players are now all on warning. The last person who used their hands in the ruck off their feet, they got a yellow card. It means that the next person, you know, there's a possibility he'll go to the bin as well. So they want to make sure they tidy all that up. They don't need to do that in Havlocks because they're dominating the contact as it is. They don't need to infringe.
Adil Shavinatunga takes this nicely in the middle of the line out, the former AC Pathanian. Gulanjana Vijay Singh controls it nicely. This is a well-constructed maul. And then Vijay Singh comes away from it. Madhushan though with some great tight play. Gives a lovely offload to Surya Rachi. Surya Rachi hurrying down the touchline. Surya Rachi is not going to get caught. Surya Rachi. Wonderful work from him. But take a bow. Umesh Madhushan, who just ripped that ball away from Dulanjan Vijay Singh like a pickpocket. And there was no one to catch it up. Surya Rachi, who plays on the wing when he's got a bit of spare time. And we see one Navy player down in back play, probably busted his hamstring there, trying to keep up with Surya Rachi. But a smash and grab try, Paul, that has blown this game wide open.
Yeah, that's right. And look, I actually think that Havlocks have been the ones that have brought most rugby here today. They're a little bit fresher. They seem to be a little bit more committed at the breakdown and a little bit more committed at the contact. And this is where it's showing, you know, they're a little bit more alert. Look at that. Surya Rachi, he just ran past 3 Navy players to come and collect that pass. And then you just see that Navy player look like he'd been shot in the leg, pulled up. And then another player goes down. I saw in the Navy team just behind there, another player sort of pulled up a little bit lame as well. So that's a double blow for Navy. Players going down and also having a try scored against them.
That looked like it was Chanaka Chandimal on the far side touchline there who's receiving the attention. Clearly busted a hamstring. You could see him clutching at the back of his thigh there. Saw that happen in the Rugby World Cup a few editions ago. Paul, I think it was Drew Mitchell playing for Australia who was on a clean break down the touchline and just pulled up lame. Such a shame when that happens.
You've also seen it in Ultimate Frisbee last time I played, Shanaka, and you threw a ball just beyond my grasp, and I didn't quite grasp it, and my hamstring went, and that was the last time I played.
I blame your conditioning, Paul.
So they have Havlocks 14 players, and they put another try on the scoreboard, so Navy need to have a good look at themselves here. They've got numerical advantage. They've got everything to play for. It's all in front of them. At the end of this game, the winner goes and plays in the final for a piece of for a trophy. So now they have to start thinking about that. Why did they start playing rugby in this team? Why did they come on the pitch? Well, they're the same reasons why they need to pick themselves up now and start bringing a different level of game than what they've brought so far.
Absolutely, and if they can get some points on the board just before half-time, they'd be very happy. There's been a fair bit of injury time and lying about on the floor, as Paul said. So we have a few moments to go before the half-time whistle blows. So Navy do have a chance. Devanka Prasad knocking that ball on when none of the heavies wanted to catch it, really.
Well, Navy have such a devastating and accurate kickoff. They put it up so high, it's Wirasinger, he puts the ball so high up and it just goes like 12, 15 metres, just basically anyone's ball, but and the team who's receiving it, all they have to do is get a player up in the air, and the player up in the air can't be touched, so they've got to make sure that happens.
Mudutantri going a little laterally there, dragged down in the end by Kegel. Madhushan, the man who created that Surya Rachi try a few moments ago. Dushmanta Priyadarshana gives it to Niroshan Fernando, standing well behind his captain. Here's Nishan Pereira. Nishan Pereira puts a little goose step in. Won't look for Dabare that time. Dabare goes in to help out along with his fly half. Prasad Madhushankar didn't see the open short side, and now quick hands from Dushmanta Priyadarshana, the front row forwards combining there, and Sudarshan Mudutantri acting as scrum half here. Janik Jasuria chooses to pass Madhushan. That's a good ball out to Hiranta Pereira. Is it on the wing? Yes, it was. And the referee will see some foul play there if he can go back for that replay. The touch judge has got his flag out as well.
Yeah, you just saw the Navy player go back and collect the ball on the ground. It was great hands there, actually, by a couple of great sets of hands. And you see the Navy player here, collects the ball on the ground. Ooh, you can't do that. You can't go off your feet when there's a player on the ground. So what that player needs to do, what the Havlocks player needs to do, is come through there, stay on his feet, contest the ball, and then he's got rights to the ball because the Navy player was on the ground, so he's off his feet. He's not allowed to play the ball, has to release it straight away. So young players out there, just make sure you keep your feet and you can't dive on a player that's on the ground.
So no flopping rule. Got to make sure that rugby is played by men on their feet. So I believe it's in the rule book in just those words.
Men and women.
Yes, that's what I meant. So Dulanjana Vijayasinghe to try and spark his team into a little bit of a comeback here. It's 15 points to 3. Its game is not over by any means, but if they do keep playing like that, it will be a long 12-point mountain to climb for the Havlocks. Niroshan Fernando. Nishan Pereira runs straight, passes it, and a little chip put in by Dabare. Dabare tries to profit from the knock forward, but fortunately they were not able to get that ball go to hands of the referee. Blows for half-time. It's been all Havlocks in the first half, 15 points to 3. Some interesting tries, to say the least. They've come out of some interesting bits of play. Not great bits of play, but some mistakes from the Navy as well. Navy have looked very much lackluster in the first 40 minutes. We'll hope that they can bring it back in the second 40. Games between these two teams have been decided in the last 10 minutes previously this season, so let's hope for the same. We'll be back with the second 40 minutes of the semi-final of the Dialog Clifford Cup knockout here from the racecourse. You're on ThePapare.com. The Recap, your daily sports update. Wherever you are, tune into ThePapare.com at 6:30 p.m. on the dot and be updated on what happened around you.
The Hero Cup second ODI between Sri Lanka and Australia. Australia leading the series 1-0. The news is that Angelo Matthews has won the toss.
Hi, welcome to Hope Centric Yoga. I'm your host, Hope. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe to ThePapare.com. Special thanks to Body Bar for the location and I from Sri Lanka for the video production. Follow me on Instagram at featherpalm_fox.
The Recap, your daily sports update. Wherever you are, tune in to ThePapare.com at 6:30 p.m. on the dot and be updated on what happened around you.
The Hero Cup second ODI between Sri Lanka and Australia. Australia leading the series 1-0. The news is that Angelo Matthews has won the toss.
Hi, welcome to Hope Centric Yoga. I'm your host, Hope. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe to ThePapare.com. Special thanks to Body Bar for the location and I from Sri Lanka for the video production. Follow me on Instagram at featherpalm_fox.
The Recap, your daily sports update. Wherever you are, tune in to ThePapare.com at 6:30 p.m. on the dot and be updated on what happened around you.
The Hero Cup second ODI between Sri Lanka and Australia. Australia leading the series 1-0. The news is that Angelo Matthews has won the toss.
Hi, welcome to Hope Centric Yoga. I'm your host, Hope. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe to ThePapare.com. Special thanks to Body Bar for the location and I from Sri Lanka for the video production. Follow me on Instagram at featherpalm_fox.
where we are hosting the semi-finals of the Dialog Clifford Cup knockout tournament between Havlocks and Navy, the second and third place teams in the league. Yesterday we had the champions and the favourites. Kandy Sports Club put 40 points of a margin on CRNFC, who travelled up to Nittavella. 56 points to 16 was how that game finished. And here we have Navy facing a deficit of 15 points to 3 at the half-time break. It was all heavies towards the end of that first half, but Navy will definitely be a resurgent side. Motilal Jayatilaka, their coach, would certainly have not had a quiet half-time huddle. And you can see already that the pressure is beginning to tell, and the Havlocks have committed a bad mistake in the first half. Sudham Suryarachi coming back into the limelight there, but for the wrong reasons.
Got to say it was a little bit like under 10 or under 12s when the player drops the ball and then just drops his head and then just takes a fly kick at the ball. That's just so unprofessional and so not what you'd expect from a club player. If you drop the ball, you've got to turn on and be much more efficient with what you do next, because if you don't turn on, if you don't stay switched on and on the ball can be swept away and be turned over and a try can go to the opposition. So I'm really disappointed in that Havelocks player at that position, just fly hacking the ball away and giving up on it, really.
Nivanka Prasad, first time we're really seeing him with the ball in hand. Good tackle by Sudham Suryarachi on the open side of the scrum. Suryarachi, that was Situm Piris, needed to move away there a little bit quicker than he did. And coming in from the side, says the referee, so Navy will have a shot at goal perhaps here. 15 points to 6.
Yeah, look, that was a little bit lax there from the referee. I thought his interpretation on that little bit of play there, it looked like the player who, the number 8 from Navy, who took the ball up, he went straight in front into the halfback. It looked like his knee was on the ground, but he was still had players holding on to him and the ball. It also looked like he might have had a player who had him up around the neck or around the head. That's illegal as well. And then he ended up giving the penalty for the player coming in the side. So eventually he got there, but I'd like to have seen it originally first for the player who didn't release as soon as his leg had touched the ground. And normally referees, they just say it's a tackle, release tackler.
Tirana Veerasinghe has not kicked brilliantly, hasn't made great connections today with the placed kicking. See if he's got his mojo back in the second half. That's much better struck, and the kick is good. So the first points of the half go to Navy, and they needed them. 15 points to 6, and they'll get a little bit of confidence from that as well, given how the points came.
And so there you have the Havelocks player just coming back on. So they're back to the full complement of 15 players. So Navy would have had, their coach would have said, okay, now's the time to take advantage of our numerical advantage and try and press that advantage home. And they did. They managed to get 3 points while they had a numerical advantage.
Vimukti Rahula coming back onto the park after being sent off for not releasing in the tackle, the game's first yellow card. But Havlocks winning that extra time period, the power play as it were, by 7 points to 3. Richie Dharmapala puts a little box kick in. Kevin Dixon goes up, but he'll have to jump to get over the heads of most players anyway. Sudarshan Mututantri evades the tackle and hands in the ruck, says the referee. So Havlocks have the penalty. Danushka Pereira gesticulating there, not sure himself what that penalty was for.
So that penalty was for the first player that made the tackle. He didn't release as the tackled player was on the ground.
Dinusha Chaturanga is on the pitch for Navy. They're looking for their big guns to make a bit more of a difference here. Dinusha Chaturanga, one of their most experienced players. Another nothing kick from Veerasinghe, who's really not striking it too well today. And Havlocks have a chance to counter-attack now through Dixon. Dixon puts in the little chip and grabs on to Nivanka Prasad, who manages to get away from 2 tackles and makes the ball available nicely for his team. Ashan Darling getting away with a no-arms tackle there, and Here's a big ball out to Dinusha Chaturanga, who's just come onto the park. But Havelock's defense has held there, advancing. Navy have gone back at a rate of knots, and Thirina Veerasinghe will try to clear this from the base. Puts in the little up and under. And the knock forward is coming. So the referee has brought an end to that fairly mediocre passage of play. And Havlocks will look to try and settle things down here. It all started with the missed touch penalty.
Yeah, there were a couple of kicking errors there that weren't pretty, that's for sure. That missed touch, and then there was a quick tap from a marked kick, and then there was another kick, a really nothing kick from Weerasinghe. And off-screen viewers, you won't be able to see, but you can see, if you're at the ground, you can see lots of Navy players just walking back in positions, and that's why when Navy have the ball and you see them pass it out, and there's only two players in the back line, it's because everyone else is just walking back from a ruck.
It's a great scrum from Havlocks. They've managed to march this forward a few meters. And the referee has got his arm up for a penalty for Havlocks pulling away, or Navy pulling away from the scrum there. So that's a big victory for this massive front five of the Havies. Dushmanta Priyadarshana Prasad, Madhushanka, Ashan Darling. And in the second rows, two big men, Umesh Madhushan and Janik Jayasuriya.
Look, I don't normally say I'm surprised that they're taking a shot at goal, because I always believe that taking points is an opportunity to put pressure on a team. But I thought after you decimate a scrum like you're seeing on screen now, here's the replay, when you put a forward pack to the sword like this, if you kick to the sideline and then you go into a line out and you take the ball down and then you have a rolling maul, that really rams that home. We are the dominant forward back here. We have it over the top of you. And every time we come into contact, you're going to come off second best. And when you have that opportunity to do that as a forward back, they should do that more often.
I agree, Paul. They should probably have exploited their dominance in that scrum there. Hiranta Pereira's kick will probably fall a little bit short. It's great on the accuracy, but not so much on the distance. And Nishan Pereira pickpockets another try. Oh, dearie me, what an absolute shocker of a mistake from Navy. They're really not having a good day. And Nishan Pereira will be telling his grandkids about that for many a year.
That was unbelievable. Unbelievably lax there by Navy to start off with. The kick was never going to make the post. It didn't even make the try line. And then the Navy player just pretended that it had and was just about to tap it down. But watch, look how lax this is. Oh, what should I do? Oh, I might pass it to the Havlocks player. Wham.
Tanuja Malimbada, he will regret that for many a day. Just seemed to completely lose awareness of where he was on the pitch. And what he needed to do, should have run himself, I think. But Nishan Pereira profiting from that. So all Havelock's 3 tries have really been smash and grab efforts. They haven't been beautifully constructed. They've come from Navy's mistakes. Even Suryarachi's try just before half-time was one there. Dulanjana Vijayasinghe just coughed up the ball to Umesh Madhushan.
As we just wait for the kick, and he's lining this one up. Struck that one a little bit better, but then that one struck the post and didn't make it through. So that was a conversion missed. But there are a couple of errors there. The first one is, if a player's taking a shot at goal and you don't catch it on the full, then that is an error. Secondly, being so, I don't know, lackadaisical about the ball and being so relaxed about it, that sort of invites an error. So Navy need to pull their socks up here, because the game's getting away from the rapid of knots.
Yeah, there's no real intensity from this Navy team, which is something unusual from them. They're usually a very drilled side. Niroshan Fernando puts in one of these kicks that really haven't lit the park up today from either team. Dulanjana Vijayasinghe beats the tackle, and the referee says holding on. Dushmanta Priyadarshana was over that ball there.
Gee, that's poor play by Navy. No one really showed any urgency getting back. Look at the players coming back. You can still see players walking back. They're just trying to get back onside. Not quick enough. And now you see 1, 2, 3, 4 players there getting around there. It looks like a new plate of chips has just come out to the buffet table, the speed that they were going at the ball.
Umesh Madhushan was the man who was over that ball there, inflicting the turnover. He was the second man to arrive. Showed enough daylight for the referee's satisfaction. Madhushan, part of that dominant Royal pack from a year or so ago. You can see where he gets his basics from. He's suffered a knee injury in the early part of the season, or the latter part of last season. I can't quite remember, but it's great to have him back. If you're a Havlocks fan, that is. Situm Piris manages to wrestle this ball free. Can't construct the maul, but it's still available for Surya Rachi. And that's a little chip put through by Pereira. Kevin Dixon is coming in after it, and again falling straight over the ball.
If we get to see that replay again, you'll see the players just in front. He comes through, and it looks like he dropped a knee onto the player, the Navy player that was going for the ball on the ground. It's a good little kick, though, because that's where the space was. You saw a great advancing Navy defence come up. See, there's the 4 players there. The kick comes through because the space is on the other side. And that number 6 there was just offside and just dropped the knee into the kidneys.
Yes, it wasn't pretty at all. Senal Dilaka, that was. Really shouldn't have chased that ball up. He knew he surely had to have known he was offside, so just a lack of awareness and concentration from 2 players on either side. Malim Bada a few minutes ago under the goalposts, and this time Senal Dilaka squandering what would have been a good pressure occasion for Havlocks. Short throw into the line out, so maybe a bit of doubt creeping into the Navy line out this time. Nivanka Prasad, they're finally giving it to their most dangerous ball carrier. Good work there in the offload from Dinusha Chaturanga, coming onto the park and trying to use his experience. Roshan Fernando was up very quickly, but the ball didn't get as far as he did. Again going short side. Hasun De Silva. Roshan Ranasinghe. Here's Lee Keegle now, spots the gap and goes straight through. He will get caught here, will he? Yes, he will eventually. Situm Piris cannot effect the turnover, and Dulanjana Vijay is the first man there. Keegle now awaits. Long ball out, but to no one in particular. Here it is again. Havelock standing off this ruck, realizing that's not where the danger lies. And beautifully turned over again. Outstanding work once again from Umesh Madhushan. Well, he's done some good things this game, Paul.
He's done some great things, and here's the little break here by Lee Keegle. He spots the gap, and this is probably the best passenger play that Navy have had. Goes past Kevin Dixon. Nice little clean out there. We take fast forward a little bit, and now we're going back live. But there was good play by the Havlocks player. It was over the top of the ball, but a really poor clean out. You saw that you've got to own the space that's directly above the ball there, and if you want to own that space, you've got to get your chest or shoulder or whatever you can directly above it. If there's a player in between you and the ball, then they're going to dominate that space. And the Navy player that came in went over the top of the Havelock player, and that's why they affected a turnover there. But it's the best passage of play that Navy have had because they held onto the ball for 9 phases there.
Charit Silva is on the near side of the scrum for Navy as the front row reserve. Stefan Gregory looks like he may have gone into the second row. Mudutantri goes off the back, thinks about the dummy, but finds Situm Piris this time. Lovely fend from Piris, manages to stay in the field of play. Still going, Situm Piris needs to get the ball away. Oh, and it's dropped by Sudham Suryarachi in the face of a good tackle from Lahiru Kumara. But Situm Piris, how was that for a fend and a break?
Yeah, he looked like he was running down a cul-de-sac. Here it is. There's the replay here. There's one fend. He's around inches from the sideline and then inches again from the sideline. Stays alive. It was an all right sort of pass.
I think Sudham Suryarachi had thought about kicking it even before he caught it. So maybe if he kept that ball in hand, might have served Havlocks better. But scrum now in a good attacking position for Navy.
Well, there was a lot of space in the backfield there, in Navy's backfield. If he'd gotten his boot to the ball, they would have been promising for them.
So Nivanka Prasad returning the favour there, but Situm Piris able to hang on just by the skin of his teeth there with the big fend. Richie Dharmapala to Roshan Ranasinghe. Good counter-ruck from Havlock's untidy ball. But again, the little chip gets put in, and that's well read that time. Beautifully read, in fact. Here's Janik Jayasuriya now trying to resurrect the move. Hiranta Pereira. Hiranta Pereira still looking for some support. And the Havlocks have knocked the ball forward. Hiranta Pereira thought he'd place it on the ground legitimately enough, but the referee says no, it rolled forward, mate. Sorry about that. And it'll be a Havlocks cough up a turnover. And Navy will have the put into the scrum.
It looked like it was going to be another one of those phonetic phases of play where the ball goes from one side of the field to the other, but because both teams look like they're just about to break out all the time, and it's because it's such a disjointed defensive line and the ball's going all over the place that it looks like it's a counter-attacking drill. But both teams seem to be playing with some sort of matched intensity at the moment. Navy have improved their game. Maybe it's the replacements that have come on. I saw that Stephen Gregory's come on, and I saw he was the second man to a breakdown when Lee Kegel made that big, huge break. I tell you, 15 minutes after running around in this sort of humidity, he won't be the second man to the breakdown next.
Nivanka Prasad comes off the open side again. They've looked to use him a little bit more in the second half, but Havlocks have forced a turnover again. Good defense on Prasad there. They're ready for him this time. Hiranta Pereira, the long ball out, and unfortunately, Vimukti Rahula can't hang on to it. Dharmapala now to Lee Kegel, who's been one of the more dangerous Navy backs today. Two knock forward, says the ref, so Havlocks will have the put in a nice attacking position again.
One of the referee and Lee Kegel will be going out and having a drink tonight. They seem to be having a bit of a conversation every time they get near each other.
Does Kegel speak French, I wonder?
Was the language of rugby just then, Shanaka?
Roshan Ranasinghe having some stern words to his chargers there, the tight head prop. One of the senior men in the Navy. He's been playing for them for a long time. So he will be one of the leaders on the park there for them. Danushka Pereira on the open side tries to get in and prevent Nishan Pereira on a beautiful angle. Nishan Pereira doesn't need to pass because he can beat everyone into the corner. Nishan Pereira with his second try of the game. Beautiful angle that he took the ball at and knew he had the pace to beat Tirunavira Singh on the outside. This boy has been an absolute revelation and probably the only guy in the Havlocks colours not unhappy about Danushka Ranjan's move.
Well said, Shanaka. And you can see, check out the line that he runs. He runs a little straightening line and then steps out and uses his pace to get around that man. He had to have scored because there was a man on the outside and a draw and pass would have done the job as well, but he didn't need to draw and pass because he's got a step and pace, went on the outside and scored. But it was all made by the little turn in, and he just came in on a straightening angle. Ball was given to him, so he ran through the hole, and we call that in coaching terms, you run through open doors. So there's two pillars to a door, you run through the open door, and that's the space in between, and he did exactly that.
And the good thing about that angle also, Paul, was that he started off going laterally and changed his angle midstream. So he'd already sent the defense the wrong way before he changed his angle at the last moment. So it's about not telegraphing what you're doing to the defense, and Nishan Pereira, I thought, did that excellently there. Hiranta Pereira for the icing on the cake now, and it looks very much like with Lee Keegle going to the bench as well, that Navy are not going to be able to come back into this. Just creeping over the crossbar, Hiranta Pereira's kick. One of them just fell under the crossbar, led to a try though, and that one just creeping over the crossbar, so Havlocks will be happy.
That was a gem of a kick by Pereira, because I saw him warming up before the game, and he was taking kicks from the same sort of area, same sort of distance away, and they weren't even making it to the posts. So I was very surprised that he made that one, but he did just enough. They say of championship winning sides, they only jump high enough to win.
So Navy have thrown the reserves on. Nishal Desata, the former Isipatana College hooker, is on the park. Untidy restart there. Dushmanta Priyadashara knocks it on before collecting it. And another man also on the park for Navy is Harsha Madhuranga. That's him with the ball in hand. Madhuranga has replaced Ruchi Dharmapala in the halfback jersey. Here's Nivanka Prasad, this time chooses to break on the blind side, or the right side of the scrum. Roshan Ranasinghe coughs the ball up, and Liston Flatney has an altercation with Madhuranga, which is unnecessary because Navy already had a penalty. So it's 27 points to 6. There's no point in going for the threes here. Tirunavira Singh, knowing that, knocks it to touch. And the Heavies will try and get into double figures with a rollover try.
So we see the replay, and the ball just being ripped away after the player's already, his knees touch the ground, and so you can't rip the ball away after the player's become a tackler, become a tackle player, so that's why that penalty came. So we've got a little bit under 17 minutes left. One of these two teams, this is the last 17 minutes of the season. At the moment, it looks like Navy, unless they can score 3 tries in the next 17 minutes.
That was a ball left on the floor by Shahan Dias. The big Heavies forward that's just come onto the pitch. You can see that bouncing around there. Nobody really wanted it. Stefan Gregory did. Then put it over the back of his head, and Shahan Dias, unfortunately, thought he was playing handball. Backing down to the blind side, Siddham Suryarachi annoying his halfback partner by rubbing the back of his head there. Just being annoying, and then again conceding the conceding the penalty at scrum time were the Havlocks. Supun Dilshan choosing to straighten the attack and not doing too well because nobody else came with him. So Dilshan's efforts come to nothing, and Havelock's defense stands tall.
So that at that point there, if you're going to take a quick tap by the halfback, you got to think about all the players that are in front of that haven't been able to retire the 10 metres, and then all the forwards that are in that little scrum area. So that's the area where you need to attack. He actually opened it up and attacked the backs. The backs are already back 5 metres at that scrum time. It's easy for them to retire 10, and so it's really the wrong area of the field that he ran into, that's all. That and a poor clear out by their open side flanker.
Running onto the pitch off your screen, just at the top of your screen there is Lasindu Ishan Karunathilaka, former Science College captain. Comes on in place of the former Isipathana captain, title-winning Senal Dilaka. Goes off after a hard day's work. Sudham Surya Archie, or Sudarshana Mutitantri rather, leaves the ball behind. And the Havlocks have somehow managed to rescue this after a bit of ping-pong. Here's Hiranta Pereira. Looks for the little short pass and well controlled there by the Navy player. Looked like it was Gayan Vikramaratne. It is Gayan Vikramaratne. Good hands from him. The little fullback from Isipathana of last year managed to hang on to it. Ball went forward of Hiranta Pereira. This is where he loses it, manages to keep his presence of mind and scamper in for the first try for Navy, and they are now in double figures. Actually, the try has been disallowed, so it's deemed to be a knock-on. The ball went forward off a Navy hand, deems the ref. Karunathilaka backing down at blindside flank. I would rather have him at number 8, although Mututantri has made this position his own. I think Karunathilaka is a better core skills number 8. And here's the man of the moment for Havelock's, Nishan Pereira. Lovely ball out. No, it's not. Malimbada leaves this behind as well. And here's Nishan Pereira. That's a great pass. That's not a great pass at all. And Navy have managed to rescue this one now through Madhuranga. Looking for the box kick, and it's charged down. Shehan Das did well. Kosala Tissera is on the park now, chasing this one up, and now Kevin Dixon, but the referee says that Vimukti Rahula had stepped into touch.
Well, he caught the ball with his foot on the line, so that's already in touch. So I'm just wondering that Madhuranga, as he kicked the ball, was he inside the 22? If he was just outside the 22, which I thought he might have been just outside the 22, it would have been the ball taken back.
Well, he was well outside the 22, Paul, so it should have actually gone back for the full out. So referee Dinka Pires has got 50% of that call right. Shehan Das uncontested at the top of that line out. Mututantri. Referee ignores the on-rushing player who created an obstruction there. Tirina Veerasinghe as well to intercept that one. Madhuranga now. Tissera. Here's Madhuranga again. Dinusha Chaturanga. It's not a great pass from him. And that is a very good pass from the Navy number 19. That was Kosala Tissera. Nisal Desata. Danushka Pereira shoveling this one on to Tirina Veerasinghe. Smashed to the floor by the Havlocks defense, which has still not conceded a try this evening. They'll be happy about that. Nearly 70 minutes without conceding. They'll want to keep a clean sheet. And they managed to turn it over as well. So here's the kick chase coming from Hiranta Pereira, and getting back just in time was Dinusha Chaturanga to make sure he got boot to ball and prevented Pereira kicking that up and scuttling under the posts.
We see the replay and the turnover ball, and obviously the attacking team that turns the ball over are all up, and there's a great bit of covering there by that the winger for Navy. So they've only got 10 minutes left in their season. Unless they can score 21 points or three converted tries. I can't see them doing that in the last 10 minutes, since they haven't been able to score one in 70 minutes. Uncontested line out.
Rahul De Silva is on the park now. It's a lovely little popped up ball for Nishan Pereira, who has been excellent in this game. Here's De Silva again to Niroshan Fernando, looking for the quick work. And that's a lovely little offload, and getting his try in the end is Vimukti Rahula. Beautifully done there by Kevin Dixon. Wasn't shellfish, managed to give the pass just before he got hammered. And Vimukti Rahul, after going to the bench for a yellow card, manages to get on the score sheet.
And you can see that the white flag's been hoisted by the Navy team, by the amount of players that once the line had been broken, that came back to stop the player coming around and scoring under the posts. No one came back to stop that happening. And that's a real lack of finishing there from Navy, because I'm really surprised they'd give up like that. Thought some of them would have more personal pride and continue to play right to the final whistle. It's the final whistle on their whole season. A season that they've been relatively successful at. And there you see the Kevin Dixon just going through, looking like he was going to pass. The winger stayed on his outside man. He went half through and then gave the pass away. And it was nice work by Kevin Dixon. As the conversion successful, takes them out to 35 points to 6.
34, I think, Paul. 27 it was, so they had the 7-pointer.
So it'll be the end of the season here for Navy, but that won't be the end of rugby, as we see the schoolboy season's just about to start, and it's really what everyone's talking about. Also, there's the final on Sunday for this competition, the Clifford Cup, but the schoolboy season kicks off tomorrow with a cracker between Trinity and Wesley. Trinity coming down from upcountry.
Well, in their home ground, Paul, last year it was just a 1-point game between these two teams, Trinity and Wesley. As we see Nishan Pereira once again really being dangerous. Here's Ashan Darling, good hands between all the front row forwards, and in the end, the number 8 getting in on the act as well. Liston Flatney just doesn't manage to get the offload away, and a silly punt there from the Navy player. Could have had an opportunity if he kept the ball in hand, and now it's just becoming really poor from Navy. Tirina Veerasinghe still trying. Referee's got his arm up for a penalty advantage, but he knows that Navy need to score, not get the penalty, and he'll come back for it as well. But you're right, Paul, everybody's chomping on the bit for tomorrow's season start. Trinity, Wesley, and then we've got St. Peter's playing St. Anthony's as well. St. Anthony's is a very good team from the hills.
That's right, then there's St. Joseph's versus Royal on Saturday. Super Rugby's just started up. The Auckland Blues have just taken apart the Melbourne team, the Rebels. As we see, Navy are close. They're taking it's inch by inch, and they're just crawling their way towards the Havlocks try line.
Roshan Ranasinghe trying to Good discipline from Havi's on the line there. Referee's got his arm out for a penalty though. Watch number 26, will he use his arms? This time he does. Roshan Ranasinghe goes over for a deserved try. He's been one of the few Navy players who looked like he wanted it this afternoon. He's been urging his boys on, and he'll finish the season with what is a deserved try for him personally. He's been a rock at the center of this Navy scrum, and he deserves that reward, although it will be too little too late for his team.
Yeah, that's right. Too little too late. As you watch the replay, it's Raul de Silva there, just going a little bit too high. But he had to shrug off 2 defenders in the first instance before he got to Raul. So I think he went through 5 players. As we watched the conversion is successful. They claw themselves back within 21 points. Have we given up the ghost too early on Navy, or are they going to come back and make an All Black-like escape and save their season, save the match, and live to fight another day?
Unlikely, Paul. The All Blacks come back from a score away, and that's the All Blacks. Coming back from 3 scores down is probably beyond, or 4 scores down is probably beyond this Navy team at the moment. But I'll tell you what, if Havlocks play the way they have played today, with just a few tweaks come Sunday, that match against Kandy is going to be a more interesting one than we saw down here in Colombo. Supun Dilshan. Coming straight through the ruck was Shahan Dias. The ball was out, says the ref. ThePapare with a nice little short pass to Liston Flatley. Flatney to Rahul De Silva now. Here's some space. Kevin Dixon jinxes. Lovely offload to Niroshan Fernando. Kept in hand by the Havlocks, Chanaka Bandara. And that's a good little chip kick just outside the 22, so Dirosha Chaturanga can't mark it. And Havlocks will be forced to kick this one. Or maybe rather. Kevin Dixon collects it, and they will go straight away. Niroshan Fernando gives it to Lasindhu Ishan. Lasindhu Ishan gives it to the try scorer. That was Vimukta Rahul, and there's 2 knock-ons. Danushka Pereira has not had a great day in attack, must be said. And Shahan Dias manages to pop this ball out the back of the hand, and Nishan Pereira gives it to Niroshan Fernando, and Niroshan Fernando will stroll in for the try. Once again, Nishan Pereira at the center creating that. And it's an appropriate moment, Paul, to talk about the man of the match. And I don't think we can look too far beyond the number 13 there, squatting on his haunches. Although we must mention Umesh Madhushan also, who I thought had an outstanding game in defense for Havlocks and was responsible for a lot of the good work they did in shutting out this Navy team for 70 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that's right. I completely agree with you there. Look, I've got to say that Navy here have been the architects of their own demise again. They all turned off, and you can look see how many players are just walking. They're waiting for the referee to say, it's all right, I saw the knock on and we'll go back for it. Well, he's playing advantage here, fellas, and you've got to keep on playing until the referee says stop.
Last gasp effort at a tackle there, but to no avail. And ThePapare will bring the curtain down, and what has been a long season for Navy. Started off with so much promise, were easily the team to catch in the first part of the season. And then their loss to Army really meant that their season fell away at Valisura. Came back, and their most famous victory was against CRNFC when they came from behind at Longdon Place. But that's pretty much the game. And Havlocks are the winning semi-finalists, which means that they booked themselves a berth up in Nittavala against a champion Kandy outfit, whom they conceded the league title to after leading it most of the way. But currently on form with ThePapare and Nishan Pereira playing the way they are, you never know what will happen up in Kandy, Paul. There's room for surprises. And 39 points to 13 is how it finishes.
Well, look, Havlocks will be looking towards Sunday's game for sure, and if they can tidy up some of those errors, they had a few errors there that they need to clean up, and they need to start generating some of their own tries. Really, they scored tries off the back of Navy's mistakes. I don't think you can expect Candy to make the same mistake that Navy made today, and gifting tries to Havelock. So they'll need to bring a little bit more of an edge to their game on Sunday if they want to be successful in that final. For Navy, they had a lot to work with in the first half of this season. They did really well up until their little trip up to Candy. As you can see, the statistics come up. 39 points for Havlocks Sports Club. Navy SC 13 points. There's 6 tries to 1. Three of them were converted. One was converted for Navy, and there's 1 penalty for Havlocks and 2 penalties to Navy as we see those statistics come up. But as I said, look, Navy, they had it all in front of them. They did so well. They had such aggressive rushing defence, and they had so much energy in the first part of the season, but it fell away, and it really fell away badly in the second half there. So they'll be looking to make sure that next season they do better than that in the second half of the season. But Havlocks, they've still got it all to play for. They've lost 1 game this season, and the game they've lost, they've lost 2 games this season. The games they've lost, they're going up the hill to see if they can make amends there.
Yes, the Candy are the only team that they've lost to, but what's the live action on ThePapare.com when we have the March Madness big matches coming up for you. Tomorrow we have on the 24th and 25th from 9 a.m. onwards, Isipatana versus Thurston. Then we have St. Joseph's playing St. Peter's, the Battle of the Saints, the Battle of the Maroons, Ananda versus Nalanda, St. Thomas's versus Royal, the Battle of the Blues from the 9th to the 11th, 10th to 12th, the 100th anniversary game, the centenary game between Trinity and St. Anthony's, and Jaffna Central playing St. John's, also at the Jaffna Central grounds from the 9th to the 11th. So a huge amount of big matches to be watched. That's 6 of them there. And we'll be bringing all that action to you live on ThePapare.com. But that concludes our coverage here at the racecourse from the second semi-final of the Dialog Clifford Cup knockout competition. Havlocks will play Candy, the favourites and the defending champions, up in Nittabala on Sunday. We'll join you then. And don't forget, the schools are coming up in between as well, with lots of Super Rugby action to follow also. We'll catch up with you then from Paul and myself and all of us here from the ThePapare crew from the racecourse grounds. It's good evening. The Recap, your daily sports update. Wherever you are, tune into ThePapare.com at 6:30 p.m. on the dot and be updated on what happened around you.